I think a good place to start is not exactly in the transfers that are about to happen. Of course, I do want to get into that, but there are some things that have been in the works for a few months. And the highest profile ones are probably Trent Alexander-Arnold leaving Liverpool, probably almost certainly, basically certainly about to join Real Madrid and just waiting for the announcement, and Kevin De Bruyne leaving Manchester City. And for a long time, we didn't really know where he was going to go, but it appears that he's about to join Napoli. Now, these two free agent situations are very different from the perspective of timing. Trent Alexander Arnold is into his peak age, at least as convention would have it. We think that players of that age are in their peak. While Kevin De Bruyne is, as convention would have it, leaving his peak. He's just about to enter the later stages of his career and perhaps the twilight of the career of one of the best playmakers to ever kick a football. But in spite of all that contrast, and in spite of the fact that Trent wanted to leave and Kevin De Bruyne wanted to stay, having said that he still believes he can play at this level, despite all of these different circumstances, in a footballing sense, I can't help but feel that there are some similarities. Because for both Liverpool and Manchester City, which are the definitely two best teams in England for the past 8 years, we have seen their creative output defined by these two players that are leaving as free agents at the same time. Their approaches regarding how to address this absence of their main creative player has been somewhat different, because Liverpool seemed to have a very immediate approach to it, a very urgent approach to it, having already signed Jeremy Frimpong and being about to sign Florian Wirtz. Frimpong obviously to fulfill the gap in terms of the right-sided wing-back, I would say, because I wouldn't necessarily say Trent was a traditional right-back, and Frimpong is even less. And Wirtz fulfilling this need for a new creative player that can bring the team some chances of goal. Meanwhile, Manchester City have not really shown that they have an answer for the Kevin De Bruyne absence yet. Positionally speaking and tactically speaking, they are talking about signing Morgan Gibbs-White. That seems to be on its way. But even if on paper that fulfills that gap on the pitch, does it fulfill that gap qualitatively? Because Kevin De Bruyne is an era-defining player. He is the best midfield creative player that we have seen in the Premier League for the past decade. Amazing passing range, incredible precision, and that's gone now. And when you lose that as a Manchester City type club, who have achieved what they have achieved and want to continue to achieve such things and such silverware, the gap is not only tactical, it is qualitative. You need the Kevin De Bruynes of the world, the Trent Alexander-Arnolds of the world. You need the Haalands, you need the Bernardo Silvas, you need the Mohamed Salahs to compete for those titles. And maybe Liverpool have already addressed that problem by bringing in both Jeremy Frimpong and Florian Wirtz. But I am not convinced that Manchester City have fulfilled their mission to replace Kevin De Bruyne by bringing in Morgan Gibbs-White, who, by the way, very good player, has had an excellent season. He was a hair out of the team of the season, in my opinion, by a hair. But is he that guy? And he might be, but the confidence has to be there. So Manchester City still have a lot of questions, while Liverpool are working fast to answer the questions that were posed to them when Trent Alexander-Arnold was announced that he was going to leave. But they obviously probably knew this months before we did. In any case, they are leaving, and Trent Alexander-Arnold is about to join Real Madrid, which I think is exciting for Real Madrid fans and for Real Madrid players for a few reasons. First of all, let's address the elephant in the room that always comes with the Trent Alexander-Arnold talks. He's not a bad defender. He does have problems defensively, but I do think he is underrated. He does have a certain profile of wingers that are basically a counter to him. Jeremy Doku, just every single time that they faced each other, put Trent Alexander-Arnold on his butt. Not literally, because he didn't really fall, but usually he could go past him pretty often. Not easily, and that's the thing. Trent Alexander-Arnold is probably not the player who's going to stop opponents from attacking, but he's going to make it difficult sometimes, and yeah, sometimes. Anyways, he's underrated. Doesn't mean he's an amazing defender. I think he's good, and I think he can be an amazing defender. Let's see if this Real Madrid move and his dream of being a Ballon d'Or winner as a right back, which I don't think will ever happen, but maybe that will motivate him into being the absolute best and will bring out the defender in him. But the reason why everyone's excited is because they have 3-4 of the best runners in the world. Mbappe has astonishing pace. Sometimes I am stunned. I watch him run and I think, why is everybody else in slow motion? I'm not a huge Mbappe fan, but one thing has to be said. He is fast. And when a player can find runners like Trent Alexander-Arnold, Mbappe becomes a much more dangerous player. Vini is probably going to love that as well, even though he prefers often to come short and receive the ball to foot and try to create with his dribbling and face players, face defenders, try to get past them on his own. But he can be fast as well. Rodrigo is fast. Endrick is fast. And it is Real Madrid, so they're probably going to bring in like someone else as well. So that's one side of it, but the other side of it is that the midfield that will play with Trent Alexander-Arnold, I think, fits him so well. Because Federico Valverde is a player who has played in the right wing, in the right back position. He's a midfielder who has done any role that the Real Madrid manager has asked of him. And he has done all of them well. That means that Trent and him can play off of each other because Trent does like to invert and cut inside to try and find space to find the passes that he likes to play. But with Valverde, who has that versatility, that becomes a much more comfortable situation for the team, for the squad. I think that will play into his hand marvelously, into Trent's hand for finding space to get comfortable enough to find those amazing passes that I'm sure he's going to drop some. And also for Valverde, who will not be as, I would say, bothered by having to cover for Trent as a Ryan Gravenberch or a Alexis McAllister would. I do think Real Madrid have a very good deal in their hands with Trent. Obviously, him coming on a free as a free agent is the dream scenario as well. Obviously, him coming on a free as a free agent is the dream scenario as well. So I'm excited to see how that's going to pan out, and I do think that what I said will happen and it will be exciting. But I also think Kevin De Bruyne at Napoli, which is not as confirmed as Trent at Real Madrid, but I think that's going to be really exciting too. I didn't watch every Napoli game this season, but I've watched enough to know that they are very solid defensively. Very solid. And despite the fact that Romelu Lukaku can be, questionable at times, he hasn't aged like fine wine into his 30s, he is still a dangerous player. And their wingers have been really strong as well. David Neres has had sort of a revival at Napoli. He's playing really well. He had been playing really well before as well, but he's been playing really well at Napoli. He's showing his speed, his technique, his final third output is still a bit short of what ideal is, but it still poses danger. And Scott McTominay has been sensational. One of the best box-crashing midfielders in the world. And with that defensive solidity, that technical yet fast wingers, the dangerous players, you add one of the best passers to ever play on a football pitch. With a Scott McTominay and Romelu Lukaku inside the box, that is dangerous. And when I think about cup competitions, a player that can find one or two key passes in a game to find that unmissable chance, which, yeah, Lukaku might miss that unmissable chance, but still, having that guarantee of like one or two unmissable chances is so good in a cup competition when you have such a solid defense. Now, I do think that Kevin De Bruyne will pose some questions about how frequently he is going to play. I don't think he's going to be a key player in Napoli winning the Serie A. But I do think he's going to be a key player for them in trying to achieve the Champions League. The Champions League trophy is what Napoli will be dreaming about. That's something that they have never achieved, if I'm not mistaken, but I think they, right? But yeah, I think they haven't achieved that. And Kevin De Bruyne is the profile of player that maybe he will not play 38 matches in the Serie A season. Maybe he will play about 20, 24 of them. And he'll have to rest so that he can be at his best when he plays in the Champions League bracket stage, and at that point, one or two key passes can make or break your chances to go through to the next phase. So I think both players that are leaving on a free in very different circumstances are equally exciting for the teams that are going to get them. I'm not going to talk anymore, not only because I don't want this recording to go on for too long, but also because we don't know yet how Kevin De Bruyne will fit in tactically inside Conte's system. And also, Xabi Alonso will have probably to revamp his tactical vision at Real Madrid if he doesn't get too much of a squad overhaul. He will have to have a different approach to the approach that he had at Leverkusen, and that's just how it is. So I'm not going to go too much into that. I do think Kevin De Bruyne will fit in quite seamlessly into Conte's system because of the quality of player that he is, and because he is a player who can defend and can contribute to a system type of football. I mean, he has played for Pep Guardiola, so. But I'm excited to see how that's going to pan out. Let me know your thoughts if you have any. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.